This type of Yerushalmi Shabbos in the article Ozer edition of Mamish Tab, it's like Tessim Aleph, Rabbi Yirmiyah Bar Memo, and in the Vilna that's on Pei Aleph from Aleph, the first line after the Mishnah and Halacha Vav, first line the Gemara after the Mishnah, and it's kedai to go over the Mishnah again so we'll backtrack a bit. But Shimon Asomer, Shimon Nana said, so the person or Shogdiya Gabe Shida Tiva Migdal, you could put the moist hide of a young goat on top of a type of box, or in which the fire has ignited, because it really means it singes. But it's the idea is that gram kibui is mutter kodesh bananas, and also mechitza b'chol kelim. Similarly, you can make a mechitza. There's also shem bananas speaking. You can make a mechitza barrier in front of fire with all kelim, beim leim kodim, and the full empty, so the fire won't pass. He forbids with kli cheres chadashim leimayim shein mechol makab bar masor. He forbids using pottery vessels which are new, which are full of water, because they can't tolerate the fire. They're sparking and they'll burst open. And they'll put out the fire. So once you study the Mishnah, might as well read the first line of the Gemara, even though it's on yesterday's Amud. It says, Gemara, Kini Masnisim Mishiachas Horbain. And we said yesterday, the Korban Eda holds not literally once the fire has ignited. It's only before the fire's actually got onto the box. But most of the unfortunately learned that the fire is already on the box. It's just on one side. You put the hide of the goat on the other side, and the next one seems to indicate that that's the case. Rabbi Yirmiyah Bar Abba, member Shem Rab said, "Sefer shachas bo ur mitzad echad." They have a sefer in which the fire is ignited one side, nesim may mitzad hasheni, but one on the other side. V'im kava, and if it goes out, it goes out. He goes, this type of gram kibui is mutter. Achas bo ur mishnei tzdadim. If the fire has seized on both sides, so then you can't put water on either side. So then that you can do is Pashto, you roll out the sefer. For Korban reading it, you cover, but of course if you're reading it, it gets extinguished, that's fine. Similarly, Tali Shachas Bo, or if you have a talis which is ignited mitzad echad, notzimai mitzad shei, put one on the other side. Cover, and if it got extinguished, Achas Bo or mishtei tzadim, there's no place to put the water because it's ignited on both sides. Notla mitzad bo, you can take it and wrap around yourself in cups, and it got extinguished, and it got extinguished. Now, the next Gemara is really parenthetical remark. It's not going specifically on our Gemara. It's going on Parakira, as we'll see in a moment. Rabbi Shua B'Shem, Rabbi Zira said to Rabbi Yossi. It says Rabbi Yossi, it should be Rabbi Yossi. The Korban explains. I'm a sneeze so Parakira guy. It's going to Mishnah at the end of Kira. There's not awesome there. It says Nosin Klitachas Neakabam Nitzotzos. You put a vessel underneath a candle to catch the sparks. Leitam Chamar, you should put water in it. Neishim Mechabet, because you're extinguishing. But Lei Kamar, and that he's saying Rabbi Yossi. It's going like Rabbi Yossi in our Mishnah. So Gram Kibui Aser holds Gram Kibui is forbidden. Okay, so the next line, the Korban changes it, and the article leaves it as it is, and says Rabbi Yossi is going Rabbi Yossi the Amora, but the Rabbi Yossi have a Sabri Meimar Ma Pligin would mean that what's the machlekes our Mishnah between Rabbi Yossi and Rabbanan. The next word Meimar. I think even the article takes out, but the Korban also takes it out. But whether you take it out or not, so the idea is what's the machlokes between Rabbi Yossi and Rabbanan, meaning Roshim Bananos, in our Mishnah. The machlokes b'shas mechitza shel kelim, when you make a mechitza of kelim, and the question is whether that's okay or not. I'm also mechitza shel mayim low. So, but he made a mechitza of water. It seems that that's no good because you put there's fire over here and put water over here. That seems to be no good. It has to specifically be with kalim. And the Korban says, how do you make a mechitza of water? He says, use snow or hail. But I assume you can put water just down on the ground. There also be mechitza shamayim, no? But anyway, so it says more. So from the fact that he said that Mishnah back in Kira is going like Riyosi, and he eats the water and says, can't put water in the Keli. So, Dharma teaches us, I feel us Hashem Mechitza Shamayim Machlekes, it must be according to Rabbanon, Rishim Ben Anas, who argues even mechitza shomayim is a machlek. So it's even if you find make a mechitza of water, I guess it's not so practical to make a mechitza of water. That's why the Korbanei suggests snow or ice, and that might not be available all the time. So instead of that, you use these kalim which have water inside them. But Eina Chanami, you're allowed to. It comes out the mechitza shomayim would also be somehow if you can make a mechitza of water, that would also be legitimate according to Rishim Ben Anas. Okay, says the halacha zayin. If a non-Jew comes to extinguish the fire in Shabbos, don't tell him extinguish or don't extinguish. Because you're not required to tell him to desist. You shouldn't tell him to do it because it's on Milakum. Don't tell him to desist because don't tell him to not work for Shabbos. They don't have that obligation. If a katan comes to extinguish, so then we don't let him do it. Literally, don't listen to him, but we don't let him do it. Because we are required to curtail him from doing it. Moshe explains, so when he does it with his father's das. Then some father has to protest in doing so, because he's required to ensure the shvisa of his child. He's doing it on his own initiative, ain't based in between Lafrisha. The base is not required to separate him. The father is required to separate him because the father is mechuyev in his chinuch of his child, not based in. So says Rabbi Rabbi Ami. There's Rabbi Ami nafla leika b'kvar. A fire broke out in the city. Apik Rabbi Ami cruz b'shuki deramoy. So Rabbi Ami put out an announcement in the marketplace of the non-Jews, and he said, "Umar man David lo mafsid." Who puts out the fire is not going to lose, meaning he'll get compensation with Shabbos. So how can he do this? Says the Mishnah, so the Gemara says that Rabbi Yossi said Rabbi Yossi, sakana. There was a sakana above. So the danger above, there only wasn't an imminent danger, but there was a danger above. So therefore, he said he was allowed to put out announcements post our mission. Evidently, there is no danger. Says Gemara, wait a minute. If I saw sakana was a real sakana, I feel Rabbi Yossi, Rabbi Yossi himself should put out. Says I jumped the gun. Sorry. Or I was asking. If it was real sakana, Rabbi Yossi should put it out, right? So we're obviously also at this point it's real sakana still. Did we learn anytime where there's a danger, that you should do these things? It says benoshim, but the Radal changes it to the obvious change to benachrim. Don't say you should do it with goyim or b'ktanim or children. I feel with goyim, I feel with Yisrael, right? Even with adults and even in Yisrael. So why is he saying that the non-Jews should put it out? So the Pnei Moshe says, like we said before, that el dafilu lo yosham sakana shal nefashos mutal makom chameinu mafsid. So it wasn't an imminent sakana. So I'm sorry, I jumped the gun before. It wasn't imminent sakana. It wasn't imminent sakana nefashos. It was a potential danger. It was, obviously in a situation, fires always can escalate. So therefore, he said kol chameinu mafsid. Okay, the Gemara says. A fire befell b'chotzer Yossi ben Simoy in the courtyard of Yossi ben Simoy b'Sichin, in a place called Sichin. V'yordu b'nei kutzra shel Tziporin, and the people who were the people who are the kutzra is the official of the minions, I guess, so the official of Tzipori l'chabos. They came down to extinguish it, but no, he didn't allow them to extinguish it. So Amalei said, allow the collector to collect his debt. It explains Moshe Klape Hashem Amar Kain. Says, if I got a fire, it's because I have Averis and I have to atone for them. And Kosh Baruch is collecting his debt. Let Kosh Baruch collect his debt. Immediately the clouds formed and rain fell and extinguished the fire. So Kosh Baruch obviously heard it as a tefillah, and he said, okay, he's not obligated to me any debts, and it went out. Motzei Shabbos shalach l'chol chad mehem sela. Motzei Shabbos sent to each one of those people who came a sela u'larfichu shelahem, and to their officer 50 dinar, 50 dinar. So in other words, it's incentive for them to come in the future. Amar Chacham said, "Lo yatzich la'asoskein." You didn't have to protest against them because we said in the Mishnah, the girl comes to extinguish, and so this is his own personal chumrah to refrain from doing it. Chad nafte have mimagura. This is a nafti, a person from that place, and it was a non-Jew. Nafti have a magura. The Rabbi Yonah was in the neighborhood of Rabbi Yehuda, Yonah. Magura, neighborhood place where he was mitkorer. Nothing like a magura Rabbi Yonah. Fire fell in Rabbi Yonah's neighborhood. Also, Naftaya, so Naftaya came, boy mitzvah say he wanted to extinguish it. Below Shavke. Rabbi Yonah did not allow him to do so. Amarle, so he said, Gadlach Madle, in your on account of your mazel, the fire's going to go out. Midle, I guess, means it's going to be removed. Amarle in said yes. He said yes. V'ishtazev kula, and the entire city was saved. Gemara brings out another story here, which obviously again implies the great kedusha of Amoraim. Rabbi Yehuda Kfar Imi, Rabbi Yehuda of Kfar Imi, Paras Gulta al Gedisha. He put his garment on his talus on the pile of grain. Nura arkamina, and the fire fled from the garment. Okay, these places obviously save a lot of money on fire departments. If we had such great tzaddikim today, perhaps we do. Okay. A katan who comes to extinguish a fire, we don't listen to him. Didn't we learn so if you see him gathering grasses on Shabbos, you don't have to separate him from doing this. So why here do you have to separate him? So Taman ein lo tzarich ba'asavim. The Bramhacha yesh lo tzarich b'kibui. The Bnei Moshe says don't read it the way it sounds like. We'll see that in a moment. The way it sounds like is he has no need for the grasses, but he does have need to extinguish. So the Bnei Moshe reads a bit miyah. He says, "Tam le'otzar basavim l'oshet miyah misparsha." It's a questioning, astonishment. Bishlam Osam there, I understand. Mechi ein lotzar basavim. Does he not need the grasses? Mistam shlogasam le'ez tzarch shalom lakit. He probably is collecting for some need which he has. Therefore, we don't have to compel him to separate. Because he's clearly doing it for his own initiative. He wants the grasses for some purpose. That's Atzmahu. But here, but here, does he need to extinguish a fire? What does he care about the fire being extinguished or not? So unless he's doing with the intent of his father, that's why we don't listen to him do it, because of the father's obligation. Therefore, we have to separate him. The Ritva has a slightly different girsa. The Ritva's girsa is B'kibui ein lo lakatan tzorach. Well, B'kibui ein lo lakatan tzorach. By Kibui, the katan has no need on his own. But something yesh lo, well, it's a Kibui ein lo tzorach. I put in the word katan. The Kibui ein lo tzorach, but something yesh lo tzorach. Kibui is, it means the same thing, just a statement. The kibui, the cotton has no need, so it must be for his father. By grass, he has a need, and that's why it's not his father. We're not mitzvah to mafresh him. Doesn't separate him. Halacha ches. Kofin kara al gabi aner. You can put a plate on top of a candle, so the flame should not ignite the ceiling. But you can put also a plate on top of excrement of a child, so people shouldn't step on it. So, and on a scorpion, that it shouldn't bite or shouldn't sting. Rabbi said, case came from Rabbi Yochanan Zakei in Arav, which is probably Arabia, though the pretty much there's a place in the Galil. With a scorpion. I'm concerned about that. There's a chi of chatos. As Moshe said, because it wasn't pursuing the person in order to bite him. But he says, Moshe still the horgo. You can even kill him because it's of the sakana. Okay, says Gemara. On that which it said, kofin kara, that you can put a plate. Yeva kai damar Rabbi Shimon bar Yochai ani lo shemati abba. I couldn't hear this from my father, from Rabbi Yochai. Achosi amar mishma, my sister. Tell me the name of my father. Beitz shnol to be yontiv. When we had this previously, if you have an egg which is laid on yontiv, somchla b'shul shel lotis galgel. You can support it that it shouldn't roll down and break. Av ein kli, but you can't put a keli on top of it. We had a couple of reasons. The first time we had in Perek Halacha Beis, we had a couple of reasons. One of the reasons because ein metalin kli al tzorech, so evidently the kli with which we could somech it was right there, or look, I guess we couldn't bring a kli and cover it. And so it's korban eda. Moshe said back there that because when you put a kli over it to cover it, you might actually move it, and it's muktzah. Supposed to be put a kli next to it, you're not going to come to move it. But in any event, Shmuel Amar Afkarin Lesa Kli. We pass like Shmuel who says you can also cover it. So the cover it. So the over here also this seems to be like Shmuel that you can take the kara, put the kara gabi on there, like Shmuel said that. The Shmuel said you can move the. Well, it's interesting. The two pshat in the carbonata, which are contradictory. It says one first carbonata is not like I just said. He says it's not going like Shmuel because it says in the Chemashim Masisa dafka shloti achaz bekara because the cost of fashes. You're allowed to because the cost of fashes. Otherwise it'd be usher. It's not like Shmuel. The Shtachin Hokam Masisa Kishmuel Asya. Our mission is going like Shmuel, and it's because you can take a keli even though it's not for the tzorach of something which is nital on Shabbos. It's for the I guess we're looking at it as if you're taking it for the nair, even though it's really for the ceiling. But anyway, so our Mishnah is saying that you can take it for the purpose of the nair, to protect from the nair. That's also like Shmuel, you can take it even the kli, even for the davar she'enu nita b'Shabbos. So you have two diametrically opposed pshatim in the carbonata. One is that it's dafka not going like Shmuel, because only because it's going to pashas, and this guy dafka is going like Shmuel because you're taking it for the nair, which is davar, which is not nita. Okay, so the Gemara says about cotton. So you can put a plate on top of the excrement of a cotton. So that's more. What the excrement of cotton is shouldn't be muktzah. Lo ma'achal ternigol. It's a food for chickens. So if you can actually even carry it. So we're going to say it's about soft excrement. So Radal explains nicely. He says, "Klomer b'tzor raka." So if I say we don't give it to the chickens. Shemchuso because they're going to smear it. Be a time for a bias and they're going to dirty the house. Also, you can't remove it because it's soft. I can't go for kli. Therefore, you go for kli. Okay, the akrav shaloti shach, and the scorpion that it shouldn't bite. Ma'aser b'lifnei Rabbi Yochanan ben Zakkai bar Rav, marachashen michatos. I was concerned on account of the chatos. So Rabbi Ulamar Shmona Esrei Shanin have a Shmona Sar Shnin Avid have a Yossi Bahad Arav. For 18 years, Rabbi Yochanan Zakkai lived in Arav. So I guess Korban learns in its place in the Galil, because we know that Rabbi Yochanan Zakkai went to Arabia. Velo askume el ilin train avda. And he only had two shilas came in front of him. The one is here, and the other is later on in Perek Chavis. There's issue of Mimarech, which is going to come up when we have it. Omar said, Galil. He said, and this according to Korban obviously, like Moshe, it's the Galil, the Galilee. Sanesa Torah, you detested Torah. Sofcha liasos b'masikin. Eventually, you're going to be disrupted by thieves. That's the Korban Eda. Moshe said, very different. All the people who live here are going to be olive growers. In fact, olive growing was a major pursuit in the Galil. V'lo yubali Torah mehem. B'ashem v'zeisim arbei ein b'Galil amar kein. Because there's so many olive trees in the Galil that they said it. See, the Melech Shlema has a girsa that Galgal Sanesa starts to call simukim, and the simukim means red, and means sof chal so simukim that afar adom rov dam chalolim. Your dirt is going to go red from the amount of casualties, evidently at the time of the Churban Abayis. And anyway, they're all learning that's in the Galil, although you could learn that Galil means this region. If it was Taka Arabia Mamish, the Galil means the region, not the place of Galilee, but this region. My grandfather, when he was the chief rabbi of The Hague, after World War II, so they called him, based in The Hague, Vaglilos. So the Glilos are the environs. So you could say Galil means environs. Okay, look at this. Akum shilikas an air, non-Jew lit a candle, mishtamish ori, so the Jew can use the light. Being b'shuli, so if he did it for the Jew, also it's forbidden. Milei mayim lashkos b'emto, if he filled up water to from a well in Rishus Harabim to for the purpose of his own animal, mashka, so that the Yisrael can use the water after whatever's left over. Be sure so did Yisrael is also. Also, akum kevesh le'reid bo. He made a ramp to come off a boat. So the Yerach Yisrael, the Jew can go down afterwards. And be sure Yisrael officer who did it for the Jews also. Ma'aser Gamliel was came she boy in Besfina. The also akum kevesh le'reid bo, and the current boat and the non-Jew made the ramp to go off. You heard the boats came him. And the Girsas aside from the Bavli Yerbo Gamliel Bas Kanim, and the elders came down for on that ramp. Okay, so Gemara says it's Tzorach Yisrael. So what if he does it for both himself and for the Yisrael? Let's learn out what the status is from here. So the Raya from Shmuel's story about the being now is not 100% clear. The Mashbiach wants to say the Raya is really from the Mishnah, and then we're going to ask a question on the Raya from Shmuel. But let's try and learn the Raya as from directly from the story of Shmuel which we're about to learn. So Shmuel Ikbil Gabi Kaparsoi. Shmuel was a guest by a certain Persian, non-Jew. Ikvi Butsina. So the candle which they lit from before Shabbos went out. Ozar Parsi. So the Persian went Bar Madlikte, and wanted to go to light the candle, which certainly would be with Torah, both L'Tzorach him and L'Tzorach Shmuel. V'avach Shmuel apoy, so Shmuel turned around. So we see it's also if it's for both of them. So once Shmuel saw that the non-Jew was using the candle to look at the shtaros, he knew that it wasn't lit for him. It was only lit for the non-Jew, lit it for his own use, for the look at the shtaros. And he turned around, right? He turned back and to use the candle. So Rabbi Yaakov said, "Hadamras teach us tzarich l'Yisrael aser." Because Shmuel initially would not use a candle, even though clearly it was the candle went out, so the Akum needed the candle both for himself and for Shmuel. He only turned around when he saw the Akum was doing it primarily, at least, and not exclusively for himself, because he wanted to look at the shtaros. Rabbi Yehuda said, "Shani, that's different. She'e actually can be different. She'e machicha on letzis mi beso. In other words, it could be that in the Akum's house, there." If he did tzarich Yisrael, so then you can't use it because he did it also for you. But you can go home. Evidently, Shmuel was able to leave and go home. If it's in your own home, then that you could if it's both, it's okay. Shani she'emet shel adam letzeis mi beso. But you don't require a person to leave his house if the non-Jew lived for his purpose and for the purpose of Israel. So the Gemara asks, wait a minute. No, he couldn't have gone home. He was a guest in the Persian's house. So that's the case. Why he changed it? Why he turned his face around to begin with? He could have just, if they were not matriach, so therefore, it should have just continued to on, if that's the svara. What changed? If all the issue is tircha or not tircha, in matriachin, so why you turn around? So it's important to know that there's the opposite girsa here. Mamish, and we're showing him the Ritva, and the Torah brings down that Amra, it's going back a couple lines. Amra mutter. And they say that that's the Iker Girsa, not like we have Yerushalmi in front of us. If you look into Torah Shushan back in the morning, you'll see it. And why is that? Because they're saying that the Shmuel was turned around because he saw it was both for him and for the Akum. Initially, he thought that the Akum was only for him, for Shmuel. And then he realized if he's doing it for both of them. And if he's doing it for both of them, so therefore it must be mutter. Right? Because I'm saying, so he'll turn around when he saw he's doing it for both of them, so therefore doing it for both of them, it's mutter. Right? And that, Rabbi Yehuda says, no, not necessarily. So it could be that it was somewhere else where the Yisrael could leave on Shabbos, so then you should leave. It was only mutter here, but it was for tzarich shneim because we're not matriach you to leave the house on Shabbos. Let's ask, right? If the issue is so then why would Shmuel turn around to begin with? That should apply no matter what, right? Again, this is assuming that he's in the Persian's house for Shabbos. He can't leave. So therefore, what was this racial Michael so far? Why initially did he turn around? He shouldn't have. If the svara of Matrichim doesn't change from before the Akum started reading the stars to after the Akum started reading the stars. So must be, he says, so the implication is Norvos, what must it be? Must be that that's the taka, the svara is whatever. The Akum is doing it both for himself and for the Yisrael, it's mutter. And Shmuel thought initially that he was doing it just for Shmuel. And that's why he turned around not to use the light. Then we saw that Akum was also doing it for himself. Then he started using the light, and in fact, that becomes a man's halacha. That if he's doing the tzarich Yisrael, it is mutter, no matter where it is, without the svara of the Shema Shechadam Lotzis Mi Beso. Okay, so then finally going back in the Mishnah, on the ramp. They said, this game said, can we go down this ramp? They said, since he didn't do it for us, he did it for himself, so we're allowed to go down on the ramp. Okay, says the next Parakisvei Kodesh. Parakol Kalim. Kol Kalim Nitolim Shabbos, any Kalim which have doors, you're allowed to take them, the same iman. You can take them with their doors. Avavishis Barku B'Shabbos. And even though they broke off on Shabbos, they them losses of bias. They're not similar to the losses of bias, which you can't take, or if they broke off on Shabbos, you can't carry those doors because they were shvishay muchad, because they weren't prepared from before Shabbos, and therefore they're considered to be muktzah. Okay, so that is actually brings us to the top of the next Amud, and this is a very long Amud top, like the past few that we've had, so stop here.